All right, welcome to another AVID chat. Jack, as always, good to see you today
Good to see you, Dave.
on this brisk Tuesday. It feels like a fall day in Ohio to me.
I know. Florida winter.
Yes, here we come. We've been waiting all summer.
The temperature plunged into the 60s.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk a little bit about something that you may or may not have heard of before, money scripts, and the impact that it has on our ability to communicate with one another, but then also with our children. And Jack and I are in pretty unique situations. My two children are 4 and 6. Jack's daughter just went out to college this past summer. So we have some interesting perspectives that we thought we would share as a way to view money, a way to teach money, and hangups that we might have as individuals. So where do we start?
Well, I think the first thing would be to discuss what a money script is. I think the name is somewhat descriptive, but a money script just being your thoughts and views around money. A lot of times these things are passed down from generation to generation. So a lot of these money scripts are probably you've internalized, you probably learned them from your parents, some of it's your own experience that's kind of influenced your money script. So it's basically just what are your thoughts around money? What are your feelings about money and what it does and what it means and all these different things? And it can be really all over the map. So, like some easy examples would be something like if you grew up thinking that something like money is the root of all evil, it causes no problems, you might, in a roundabout kind of unconscious way, shun money. So sometimes you'll get people that feel these ways about money, they'll make money, or they'll kind of self-sabotage because they think if they make a lot of money somehow that they're a horrible person now because they're making money. And you can have the opposite where you've learned that money is everything. Your worth is tied to just how much money you make. And that's the only thing that matters about anything. And you've kind of internalized that as well. And those sound pretty negative, but there's positive things that come along with it too. So there's lots of good things that come along with your money scripts and bad things. It's more just examining what are your thoughts around money and realizing that a lot of them come from it's passed down kind of generation to generation, which kind of dovetails with the other topic is teaching kids about money, which we get questions about from time to time.
Right.
But we just kind of integrate both of those things in one chat. So,
Yeah, I think it's great. I think even starting with the money script as adults, we work with people our age and older, and a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times they're partners. There's two of them together, and I don't know of very few dynamics where I would say two people come into the office or have an updated conversation, and they're both on the same exact page, right? Like
right.
even Melissa and I are, I think, a pretty normal example where I might be more of the planner by nature and thinking 20, 30 years out. And Melissa wants to enjoy life now. And a lot of personal experiences. Her father passed away at an early age. And, we are not guaranteed tomorrow. So those two dynamics are opposites, but they do kind of have an impact on how we think through the decisions that we make.
Yep. Yeah, it's good to know here's where I'm coming from and here's what my experience has been and here's my money script and here's the person that I'm working with. This is a team approach, spouse or otherwise, and here's their money script. And a lot of times, like you said, these things are many times they're opposite of each other. And it would make it difficult if you didn't understand that. But once you understand that, at least you come with an understanding that I see where this person's coming from. They see where I'm coming from. And how do we work with both of these money scripts to come to some kind of consensus on what the next step forward is and what's the balance between those two? So money scripts are big. I mean, they come into play a lot with when we're talking to people because a lot of times your actions and the things that you're doing obviously make a huge impact on just how your financial life will go. And if you have thoughts about money, that's how you're acting on it. It just makes a huge difference. It's kind of a square one type thing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then you involve, in my case, little people.
Mm-hmm.
Clayton, I say this just about all the time now. He's 6, Lucilia's about to be 4. And Melissa and I are very open in our discussions about finances and what we're spending on and what we're thinking of doing with the money tomorrow and 3 years from now. And those things are heard definitely by Clayton at 6, and he's soaking these things in. So for us to be mindful as parents, as couples, whether we like it or not, we're going to influence his viewpoint on money and the way that it is dealt with and approached, and hopefully in a fashion that will help him learn and be a good steward or a manager, or just, understand that money is a tool. I guess that would be, as a parent, my big thing. Money is a tool. I think we talk to clients about this quite a bit. For us, it's not the object, but we do have to be mindful that it's going to help us accomplish the things that we want to do in life. And communicating that in a fashion to little people is extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you and I are talking about doing the teaching kids about money, just doing an AVID chat about teaching kids about money, at first it was, well, here's how you teach kids, and just giving some like examples, like here's things you can do to teach them. But then the more that we were talking about it, it was, well, I mean, you can teach them things, like if you can sit down with them and teach them concrete lessons. But the other 99.9% of the time, when you're going around spending money and making decisions about it, they're going to learn it that way more than what you talk to them about, if they're
No
even
doubt.
listening to you when you're talking to them. So they're going to learn by observation more than they are what you teach them. Not that you can't teach them certain things and use lessons, but we figured you got to talk about what your own hangups and thoughts around money are first, before you can start to teach the next person, especially if it is a intergenerational thing where your thoughts about money are being even unconsciously passed on to the next person. You got to know what those are, and if that's what you want to pass on. And if not, then you need to work on it yourself, and then you also need to make sure that you're passing the right lessons on. So anyways,
Yeah.
so
one of the things that I've tried to do with Clay, if we can just talk, maybe this is if you have young people and you're listening, I'm not saying this is the right way or the wrong way, but one thing that I've tried to do is just put into perspective, one, what money even is and what it allows us to do, but then two, the value to it, right? I think we've all heard from probably our parents or somebody else, money doesn't grow on trees. We can't just buy everything you see. So how do you put that into perspective? And so what we've tried to do is just assign like money values or dollar values to efforts or work efforts that are outside of the normal expectations. So a normal expectation for Clay would be, you need to get up, you need to get dressed, you need to brush your teeth, put your clothes away before bed, all these things. But he's a hard worker and he likes to help out too. So he's always helping in the yard and doing other things. So one example that I've done with him is he likes to get out the big shop vac and vacuum out the car. And I've attached a value to this, right or wrong, indifferent, of $2. It takes him maybe a half hour or something, 20 minutes. He does a pretty darn good job. He gets $2.
man,
And
what a rate. Jeez.
Hey man, start little.
Over there.
If I start with 20, man, the kid's going to be asking
Yeah,
for
that's right.
500.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but so he'll get done with that, and then to put the value of working for it and then the reward of it. One of his favorite things to do is to go to 7-Eleven. We're pretty anti, or we try to be low on sugar in the family, and it's to go to 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee, and a Slurpee's $2 about. So he knows that if I want a Slurpee, Dad and Mom probably aren't going to pay for it unless they're like in a really great mood. But I can vacuum out the car and then I have enough for a Slurpee.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I started with him at 6, and then use that to put other things in perspective, right? The values of other things. So he loves soccer. Soccer just started back up and he was talking about getting a new ball. So we said, all right, well, let's see how much a soccer ball is. Soccer ball is about $20. So we can then incorporate as a first grader math and kind of computing. How many times would you have to vacuum out the car, or how many Slurpees equals a soccer ball? Right. And so he's starting to gain the concept of if I want to save up for a new soccer ball because I really, really want one, even though I already have one, it's completely fine. I can't vacuum out the car and buy a Slurpee every single time.
Right.
I've got to wait a little bit. I've got to be patient. So, old version would be save your money, don't spend it all in one place. But hopefully these are little things that he can understand the value. And I think that's the point to what I'm saying with Clayton as an example. Just starting to say, okay, there's value to money that we have, and it doesn't buy everything the same. It's not endless. It doesn't go on trees. We have to work for it.
Well, right. It's kind of a lesson in, trade-offs. It's I could have a soccer ball for $10 or $20, whatever it is, or like you said, I could have 10 Slurpees. Like, am I willing to trade 10 Slurpees for a soccer ball? And if the answer is yes, then buy the soccer ball and just know that you gave up something to get something else, which we talk about a lot is, I mean, it's really no different. The older that you get, you're trading something for something else. A dollar spent on A is a dollar not spent on B. And if A is more important, terrific. Who cares? But if B is more important and you spent it on A, then you have to start thinking about, or at least knowing, here's the trade-off that I'm making, and I'm good at that trade-off. I don't have a problem with making that trade-off. So that's a great way to at least start with just the trade-offs of this versus this. I think that's you give him
Yeah.
cash, right?
Yeah. Give him cash, $2.
That
So,
way you get
and
some
then,
extra
he,
support.
yeah, and he pays it you go to 7-Eleven, he'll hand him the $2 and he'll get a little bit of change and we throw it in the piggy bank, so I'm rounding the numbers. But I think the first time we tried to incorporate this, it was almost like you said, the trade-off wasn't there. I think it is today because we've probably been doing this maybe since he was 5.5. But it was like, get the Slurpee, go run around, or buy the soccer ball rather, go run around, get all hot and say, okay, can we go to 7-Eleven and buy the Slurpee? It's like, do you have $2 remaining?
Yeah, right.
He's like, well, no. Well, that's so, I mean, I'm making that up a little bit. That didn't actually happen, but the thought process would be that if he questions after spending on B, but really now wants A again, but there's no more resource. And I think as adults, what happens, even today, it's difficult because I don't have it on me, but I just swipe a card.
Yeah, right.
It's super easy. Or, oh, well, rates are low. And we start equating things to like monthly payments. And so it really can get out of control easily, even for adults.
Especially for adults, because there's no there's no parental figure kind of reining you in a little bit. You have there's a lot of freedom. You can do whatever you want to do, but if you don't have any discipline, it's going to sink you. You got to have a little bit of discipline. With Clay, the discipline is mom and dad. But at some point, there's no, if you're an adult, obviously your mom and dad are not going to tell you what to do with your money. You have to do it to yourself, which is a little bit more difficult. And then we just kind of come for a full circle towards what are you doing with your money and what are your money scripts before you start teaching other kids about money. It's at least to be aware of what that is. And really like for, the older, with Alex or whatever, she's
18, just went off to college for really her first time essentially on her own, making, I guess, unguided financial advice, right?
Yeah. Which, she's, she still does just like any kind of dumb stuff any of us did when we were young with money. Like it's not like she's like a money savant or anything. At this point, she's, she does recognize. So I think the biggest lesson for us was, and this is like dumb luck, it wasn't like it was planned out, was her being in ninth grade. And she had we gave her a phone, but it was a flip phone. So it was like the most,
she probably didn't even want to pull it. She probably didn't want to pull it out of her pocket because like everybody else has touch screens and.
She didn't. She wouldn't take it out. She wouldn't tell people she had a phone because she didn't want them to see the phone that she had.
Jeez, man.
Like on an old, like a lot of people watching this, old text messages was like AA. You had to press it 3 times. And so if we would text her something of whatever it would be, you get back the shortest answer. It'd be yes, wasn't yes, it was yeah. Like it was just the shortest possible thing. She's trying to do it real fast so nobody sees that she has a flip phone. So, anyways, which was fine when she was in middle school. Even then, it was a little bit of a hassle because, man, it's like now people, kids have smartphones and they're 9 years old or something. And we just didn't want to do that. So we held out for a long time and it wasn't easy. Like it was constant battling. Like it's just not right. And I still think when we got it in ninth grade, it was too early, which is an entirely different subject. But so for Christmas, this is 4 years ago or so. Yeah, 4 years ago. Got her a iPhone, and it was whatever the latest iPhone was. It wasn't like the super duper top end one, but it was the whatever the current one at the time was.
It had a big dollar value to it.
Not inexpensive, right? So it was really at the time it was probably like the greatest Christmas present she's ever gotten in her entire life. She was beside herself with happiness about this stupid phone. And it ended up being a giant distraction, which is an entirely different subject. But it wasn't inexpensive, or it was expensive. And she had the phone. But of course, she didn't have any skin in the game in some sense. She didn't pay for it at all. So it wasn't long into having it that, one, she'd lose it all the time. She'd, being distracted, not getting your work done, whatever. But, it broke. And they're not inexpensive to fix. Had to fix the screen on, so it ended up breaking. Well, after a while, it was, I'm not paying to fix another phone. And just because it became such a distraction, it was, if you want to have a phone, you're going to have to start paying for the service. So she had a job and she was doing babysitting. So she had some money to spend. And it was just, at that point, she's 16 and we're kind of just at our wits' end with a teenager. So it was just, you have to pay for the service. And she started paying. She had a little prepaid plan. I think it was $30 a month or something. And just honestly, a stroke of dumb luck. That was the best thing that we ever did, was make her pay for her cell phone bill. It was relatively inexpensive. $30 isn't a lot. She's getting paid $10 an hour to babysit. So a couple babysitting jobs in a month covers it and then some. So she had the money to pay it. She still had a busted phone, but then when she got another job, she was not waiting tables, but she was kind of a bus girl, I guess you'd say. And then she really started making some decent money. And the first thing that she did when she saved up enough money was go and buy a brand new phone, cash money,
Wow.
and bought it for herself. And she was pumped about it. And I didn't say a word about it. It's your money. You earned it. If you want to spend it on a phone, by all means, you can spend it on a phone. But mind you, if it breaks, you pay to fix it. You're still going to pay for the service. So
yeah,
it was not a whole lot different than Slurpees. It's just a higher dollar figure.
right.
And, giving her some kind of taste of this is what it costs to own these things. And I think it's done a good job to carry on into college. And she knows if I spend it on this, I can't spend it on that. And if I do, I don't have anybody to blame but myself. And
So did the new phone last longer before the first break, or do you remember?
She still has the same phone that she bought. So,
oh, okay.
But the screen's broken.
But see, I think that's interesting. I think that's the realization. And let's face it, Clay doesn't have a handle on this. He's 6. But so maybe just Alexander being closer to an adult and maturing and older, she obviously gets like, I'm going to take care of this thing. I'm sure it was $400+. And now broken screen. Oh, she's like, well, I could get a brand new screen and probably spend, I don't know, $150, or I could just live with a broken screen.
Right. And when it breaks, it's not, it broke. It's, I cannot believe I broke the screen on this phone. Like, she's devastated that she broke it. And, she put her money on it. She's thinking, God, I spent so much time saving the money and working in a dirty kitchen and coming home smelling like French fries and all this. And I buy the phone and then I break it. What the heck? Now it's broken. Now she's like, if she ever gets it fixed, which I don't know that she will or not, she's guarded with her life. Like, I'm going to put this thing in the thickest case I can find because I'll be damned if I'm going to break my phone again, because it's not inexpensive. So, and
Right.
that's a good thing because that's not a life or death situation. She's not going. It's not a make or break situation. The phone works just fine, but it does teach her a little bit about this stuff isn't free. There's nothing wrong with spending your money on things that you want, but if it breaks, you got to be mindful. So
Yeah.
that was great. It's not. I
Yeah.
know
I
it was
think
kind of a parental stroke of genius.
I, I gotta throw in there because those are two like positive stories, and I don't want it to sound like we've got this thing mastered.
You're right.
So we went camping last Saturday, I guess, with Mimi and Jay, Mel's mom, out at Fort DeSoto, which is super cool. Staying the night, so kids were up, and it's camping, so just stay up late, have fun. They're having a blast. Well, at some point, they're in the tent, but would not sleep. Just and just over time, you're like, oh my gosh, I just need it quiet.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
probably like 10:30, which is pushing the envelope, at least for our kids, because just because they stay up late doesn't mean they sleep in. It's the opposite, and it
Yeah, right.
backfires. So finally, I go to the tent. I'm like, Clayton, Lucilia, listen to me. If you go to bed right now and don't make another minute, I'll give you each $20.
You're right.
Like in my head, it's like, bribing basically.
Yeah, right.
So I sit back down, dead quiet. I'm like, this is pretty awesome. Then there was some wrestling going on. Long story short, they did fall asleep. So next morning I wake up, I couldn't have been 7 o'clock or
First
something.
question they asked.
On my life, Clay's like, Daddy, don't forget, you owe me and Lucia $20 each.
Like magic. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm like, no. And then, of course, I'm like, well, technically, Lucilia was making noise and kept up. So, and he's like,
Right.
okay, well, how about $10?
Yeah, right. We didn't have a signed contract, so now you just learned about contract law.
Right. So I
Right.
say that because obviously, whether it's parenting with 6-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 14-year-olds, or even as adults, and we start making our own decisions, it's not going to be perfect, right? And knowing that ahead of time, I think is big because you're going to mess up. It's the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but making progress over time is way better than just being like, I don't need to think about it. Just I'll deal with it later.
No doubt. Oh, I've definitely made more mistakes teaching Alex about money than I've probably done good things. We've tried our best, but like anybody, it's you have your own hangups and your own thoughts about money, and I'm sure there's things that I've passed along to her in terms of money scripts that I wouldn't want her to have. But you're living life and you're gonna make mistakes. So I think the summary would be first, got to think about what your own money scripts are and what your own hangups and your thoughts around money are. And if you're taking care of it yourself, what do you want to pass along to them? And once you get an idea of what that is, one, you have to be mindful that you're not going to change overnight, but also keep that in mind and then focus on the lessons that you want to pass on and just do the best that you can. I mean, there's just no way to be perfect about it. And they're not going to grow up and be, the most amazing money managers you've ever seen when they're 19 years old. So
Right.
have realistic expectations, I guess.
Yep. No doubt. I think that's a good way to wrap it up from both of us at AVID. Thanks for joining us again. Keep in mind, a True Wealth program that we have now does have tools that will help you look into your money scripts, what they mean to you, maybe your significant other, and the impact it might have. So if you want any more information, reach out to us. And until the next chat, Jack, enjoy the cool weather.
Yeah, for the 2 days. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you.